Hey you guys, it's SO Bassmaster, and today we're going to be talking about how I caught my personal best a few weeks ago. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say how sorry I am I haven't posted in a while, and hopefully once a week I will be posting a video. If you guys could suggest maybe some lure tutorials on how to fish a certain lure or something in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated. So let's move on to my PB. So, my friend O.R. Basson came over, and his name's Caleb, by the way. You guys should go check him out on Instagram. I will put his link in the description, and go check out his YouTube. He's putting out, he's going to be putting out some great videos shortly, so you guys should go hit him up. But anyway, we decided we were going to go fishing with my dad, pond fishing, the next day. So we watched some tactical bassing videos and then went to bed. And we woke up at like 8 o'clock, well, a little earlier, and then we got to the pond at 8 o'clock. And we were fishing the pond, and we decided we were going to fish some like finesse lures because the bass weren't really hitting topwater in the morning. They were just cruising, eating bluegill everywhere. So my friend Caleb and I, we started walking around the pond, and we started flipping. I was using like a creature bait and a frog, and he was using just like a jig, and then he used a buzz bait and spook for a while. And he had his jig on, and he made a cast while he was flipping, and he made like a cast to the right of us, and he caught, well, he had a 3.5 on, and it came off. He flipped right back into that same spot and caught him, and it weighed 3.5 pounds. So that was pretty cool to watch. Watch the fish come off, and then he flips back in there and sets the hook on his brand new Decade Ghost rod, which is a pretty cool rod. But anyway, we decided to start walking around the pond. So we started walking around the pond, and we came to this like open part. The pond's pretty open, but it was like a grassy field part. And I decided to throw on a popper because the bass were eating bluegill, and sometimes the bluegill were going up onto the surface, and then the bass would just hammer them. So I threw the popper on top, and I threw it right next to this weed edge, and I started popping it, and I got blown up so fast. And my dad and Caleb, my dad was to the left of me, and my friend Caleb was to the right of me, and I just get blown up on this popper, and all I remember was setting the hook really hard into him after he'd blown up on it. It was the biggest blow up I've ever had. And I'm fighting this fish all the way to the bank, and I'm keeping tight pressure on him, and I guess I pulled it a little bit too hard at the end, and he came off right before Caleb's hands. Like, it was so big on the popper. But anyway, we kept walking around, and all I can tell you is we walked around a few more times, and we came to the same spot, and my friend Caleb and my dad kept walking, so I decided to make a few more casts. So I cast almost to the same spot where I casted a few minutes before, and I popped it again. I popped it twice, and this fish came up, hammered it again, and I set the hook, and I'm fighting him. I'm like, I got him. And my dad and Caleb are running over as fast as they can, and the fish breaks me off. Breaks off my lucky popper too. I was pretty mad about that. But anyway, we decided we're gonna go to Selmac that afternoon, and I picked up a live target bluegill. And we went to Lake Selmac, and I started throwing this bluegill with Caleb. Caleb got a bluegill too, the little live target bluegill sunfish. And we start throwing them along the weedy edges, because Selmac, if you guys have never heard of it, it's one of the weediest lakes you will ever fish. It's pretty much just a giant pond. But anyway, this lake has giant bass, and it's had, what was it, 4 state records caught out of it, or a little bit lower than that, but it's a really crazy lake for Oregon. And we get to the lake, we all got blown up on live target bluegills, and we kept walking around, and then my dad's like, let's drive to the other side of the lake, and then we'll like keep throwing the bluegills and whatever you guys want to throw. And we started we casted those for a while, and then we ran to another spot, and we get to this spot, and I don't know what made me throw a punching rig, but I threw a punching rig. And I flipped into these reeds. Well, we made a few casts around the reeds with the bluegills and stuff, so I just switched to the punching rig. And I made one flip with this Black Max and Daiwa rod. It was my first flip into the reeds, too. And I was actually really pumped up about this day because I already lost my personal best before. The fish that I lost on the popper would have easily been my PB too. And so I have 15-pound monofilament on here, and I'm never going to forget this. I take the lure in my hand and I make a pitch really high up into it, and I lock my bail and I start going up like this and get just twitching it. I let my bail down like I've seen in all the punching videos and how I catch a lot of my punching fish. You open the bail, let it sit there on the bottom, and just keep twitching it. And all I remember is I felt this thump, and I saw my line just start taking off. And I came back, I reeled up on him a little bit, and I set the hook into this fish, and it just started diving back down in the weeds, and it got stuck. And I was scared because I had 15-pound monofilament. I thought it was going to snap off, and I was going to lose this 2 PBs in the same day. So I start winding on him, and my dad and Caleb are freaking out. They're like, this is huge, and it starts coming out of the water in the reeds. We were all freaking out, and all I remember is I got him past the weeds, and my dad just dives in after this fish. And it was really shallow cover. He just dives in after it. And my dad grabbed the fish, and all I remember is him turning back to me. Sorry about that. But him turning back to me and looking at me with this giant bass. It was like, probably like that long of a bass. I don't remember. We didn't measure him, but it was probably like a 23, somewhere in there. It was a pretty long fish. But all I remember is we getting this fish in, and my dad turns and looks at me, and we just start freaking out. Like, I'm like, is that my new PB? And I kept asking questions like that, and Caleb's like, that for sure blows your PB away. Sure enough, we get it on the scale. It weighed 5.03. It was the fattest fish. And he was pretty long, but he just had a really wide body. And that's how I caught my new PB, and I wished I would have videoed it, but I wanted to hang out and spend time with my dad and my friend Caleb. But man, that I'll never forget that flipping in there, and that bite felt the thump of that fish, and the feeling of that fish is so powerful that it's just crazy how bass can fight that hard. And here's some pictures of that fish. So that fish was really chunky, and I'm just amazed how I caught that fish. And I was bummed out that I missed a fish, and I lost that one fish on the popper. But I caught my PB at the end of the day, and it was just a crazy day. So that's how I caught my new personal best, and I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please like, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.